Now that Super Bowl 55 is over, the NFL season wrapped up, and it's time for the sports world to transition into something completely different, right? Happens every year at this time. Instead of shows talking about the NFL season every day, get ready for them to shift over to the NFL offseason every day. That's right. If you don't like football, there's no break in sight, and it happens to be one of the juicier hot stove periods in a long time when you think about the trade market. I don't know if we've had a trade market like this, because normally you don't have trades in the NFL. We already had one, Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff. You got Carson Wentz in the on-deck circle. Could Sam Darnold be traded? Deshaun Watson, could he be traded? Draft coverage will also pick up in the coming days, and even more quarterbacks to talk about. The second that Tom Brady took that knee to close out the Super Bowl, the next season began for every team in the league. And we move on fast these days. Opening kickoff's only 7 months away. Like it or not, the football chatter is just starting. There's been a lot of talk about the quarterbacks with Carson Wentz. Is he going to get traded? And I had somebody tell me yesterday that, the Eagles had been holding out for at least 2 first-round draft picks, maybe another player, that the price tag was too high, and that the Bears and Colts probably waiting for the Eagles to come back to reality. Also, there was a conversation, chatter about, did the NFL say to the teams, do not make any trades Saturday or Sunday or Monday? And you're starting to hear that maybe things could heat up and Carson Wentz could be traded this week. Deshaun Watson might be issuing a statement later today on his situation with the Texans. So it feels like it's fluid right now with something happening. The question is, what is going to happen? Also, Paulie and I were discussing the Super Bowl and looking back at the Super Bowl. It was on last night. NFL Network had it. And if you knew the plays, what would be great, and you can't do it, but if you had the offensive coordinators or you had a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator. Let's say you had Eric Bieniemy and you had Todd Bowles, and they sat down to discuss, this is what the play was, and this is what we thought it was, or this is how we decided to counteract what you were doing. Because as I'm watching the game again, it became so apparent Kansas City could have run the football. I thought, if you don't have a great offensive line as far as pass blocking, why don't I take advantage? Why don't I run the ball a little bit more? And if you're averaging 6 yards per carry, maybe you don't think it's sustainable, but it's been sustainable before during the season. Why didn't you take advantage of that? I still think Patrick Mahomes held on the football too long because he was trying to make a big play. But everything's coming up the middle, so Patrick Mahomes could never step into the pocket cleanly. Why not? And it just didn't feel like there were any adjustments made by the Kansas City Chiefs. It's almost as if, hey, this is how we do it. We're the best offense in the NFL, and try to stop us. Well, they did. They were. And that's where I didn't think that there were any adjustments there. And now, do I think Tampa was still going to win? Yes. But, you had 15, 20 minutes at halftime to adjust. And, the part of the problem is that you have, what are we adjusting, or are we willing to adjust? And you're down 21-3 after the Antonio Brown touchdown. So after that, you're going, okay, what do we do? It's not like you can go, is any lineman in the building who want to play? Tony Baselli was covering the Super Bowl. It's not like you can say, Tony, you want to get a uniform on and help us? Probably would have helped you. But I couldn't help but wonder why it appeared as if Kansas City didn't make any adjustments. And can you keep somebody back there to help an extra person? Keep in mind, Tampa had 4 rushers. Kansas City had 5 offensive linemen. But if you throw 50 passes and they only blitzed 5 times, and what Tampa was begging you to throw short passes or run the football, begging you. And you watch it again, and I would love to know Eric Bieniemy if he said, this is the play that was supposed to be called, or this is how it's supposed to be run. And if you had Todd Bowles saying, this is what we were trying to do. We wanted to put pressure up the middle. We wanted Mahomes moving. We wanted him running on that bad toe. I still would have looked at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and just taken advantage of his talent. And look, I know it's hindsight, but that's what we do. You dissect it, and then you watch it again, and then I couldn't help but go, Kansas City, it doesn't feel like they kept doing the same thing over and over and over. And I kept going, at some point you got to go, this isn't going to work. And I think they panicked. It just felt like we got to make something happen. And, the ball goes off Tyreek Hill's face mask. Okay, tough catch. Travis Kelce drops a ball with a defender around his feet. You had the penalties at the end of the first half. It felt like Kansas City was starting to get a little desperate. They were nervous here because Brady, the interception, was called back due to a penalty. So they weren't making mistakes. And I thought if Brady doesn't make any mistakes, that defense will win this Super Bowl for them. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, Brady was really good. The defense was great. And that was the difference here. But Kansas City didn't counteract. And that's what coaches do. Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, NFL history, with his ability to adjust. He can adjust from quarter to quarter, half to half, game to game, season to season. And I did not see those adjustments with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, Paul.
Dan, you mentioned the penalties when I was rewatching the Super Bowl last night. It felt like the penalties came in a slew at the end of the first quarter and the entire second quarter. And when you rewatch it, you're watching more for the reaction. And someone was yelling. I think it was Tyreek Hill was yelling at Pringle because he went the wrong way. And then the defensive players, Chris Jones is yelling because he's being held. And you could see the frustration. Yeah. And I was with you, though. Longer halftime, you thought there'd be more adjustments.
Yeah, I just didn't see it. But it felt like, and, Patrick Mahomes even addressed this yesterday. This is what he had to say with what the loss meant to him.
It'll definitely motivate you. I mean, if you're a competitor and you get so close to your ultimate goal, and then you fall short, I mean, it's something that will motivate you for the rest of your career. I mean, it was a bad feeling in that locker room after the game. I mean, you don't want to have that feeling again. And so, we luckily enough we'll have a lot of the same guys back, and we'll obviously add new guys, and we'll set the tone from the beginning of the year, beginning of the off season, that we have to be better. We have to be better than even we were this last year in order to go out there and win the Super Bowl.
And he admitted that he has to stop relying on the big play. He says, as of today, I'm going to do whatever I can to try to look at the film and try to find ways to get better. Obviously, with our offense and the success we had, when teams see the defensive plan that they had and how well it worked, they're going to try and do the same thing. He has to be able to take what the defense gives him, as great as he is. And I still, looking back last night, if you could possibly have an incredible performance in a losing effort and not put up great numbers necessarily, Patrick Mahomes did everything possible as far as athleticism, getting passes off. He ran for over 400 yards. He scrambled for over 400 yards on a bad toe. And he fought to the very end. But they didn't make adjustments. They kept going, let's wait for the big play. Once we get that big play. And, Tampa Bay, give them credit. Tampa Bay was just saying, we're going to have our safeties so deep that there's no chance anybody's getting behind us. Yes, he.
That's the weird thing about the Chiefs not making any adjustments in the Super Bowl is because all season long they were famous for being a third-quarter team. They would put up 1 billion points in the third quarter, which suggests that they made halftime adjustments.
Yeah, that's a great point. But they didn't. They came out and, it still wasn't there. And it's not like Tampa was, putting up. Tampa had benefited from a short field throughout the playoffs because the defense has been so great. They didn't have, long, sustainable drives. I mean, Kansas City outgained Tampa Bay, 350 to 340. But, Kansas City had to have these sustainable drives, but they didn't want to wait. We want to do it right now. Whereas Tom Brady would have a short field, and they were able to capitalize. Plus, they scored touchdowns, and Kansas City did not. If you say Kansas City is going to end up with 3 field goals, and they're going to be in the red zone 6 times, Tampa's winning. If you're going to say Tampa's going to score 3 touchdowns in the first half, Tampa's going to win. But make no mistake about it, what they did defensively and continue to do that throughout the game and the pressure they put on Patrick Mahomes. And it's not like everybody has, you can have a blueprint, but that doesn't, I can give you the blueprint for Steph Curry's shot. That doesn't mean you can shoot like Steph Curry, but I got the blueprint. The teams have to have the personnel to be able to pull off the blueprint to beat Kansas City. Tampa couldn't do it, didn't do it the first time around. They got embarrassed, but they adjusted. And Todd Bowles did a great job as the defensive coordinator of saying, this is what we're going to do. And then all you do is be patient with your approach to Kansas City, because Kansas City was not patient. Hey, we make big plays. Where are the big plays? You know, I'm going to hold on to the ball. I'm going to get hit. I mean, he was under as much pressure as I've seen in a long time. I have to go back to when Brady played against the Giants, and the Giants beat him with Michael Strahan. They pounded him every single time he threw the ball. But that was a great defensive performance. Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan, O.C. Umeura, they put pressure on him and hit him every single time. And Patrick Mahomes is not used to that. I don't care what quarterback, go down through history. They'll all tell you. Once we start to hit you, it's interesting. You get the ball off a little quicker, get a little skittish in the pocket, and that's what happened with the great Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, Paulie.
On the penalties, Tampa gained 120 yards on penalties on the Chiefs. Tampa was only 4 of 12 on third down conversions, but Tampa got 6 first downs off penalties. They stayed alive at many different points in the game, the offsides on the field goal, etc.
Here is Andy Reid talking about the penalties.
We have the opportunity to voice our gripes to the league, and they do a good job on responding to it. You know, so really for whatever I think or what they think, the calls were made. And it's a shame that we had that many in that big a game, you know, that possibly were that close of a judgment call.
All right. I think the officiating played a role, not a significant role. I know it's easy to go, well, the officials were on Tom Brady's side. This wasn't a close game. If it's a single possession, then I could see where you're even angrier. But Kansas City put themselves in these situations here. You know, they were physical, and they got caught. And would I have called all those penalties? I would not. You know, the retaliation, there were 2 of those penalties, Jones and Honey Badger. I wouldn't have called them. I would have just said, guys, let's go. Let's play on. When Evans got tripped, it's right there in front of the official, and, you know, you have to call it. Honey Badger in the end zone, would I have called it? No. But, you know, a lot of these are, you know, you start to get desperate. You're trying to make a play, and that comes back to haunt you, and it did with Kansas City. I was also curious about the ratings, that Boston outrated Tampa Bay. How is that possible?
It's Tommy.
Top-rated Super Bowl markets from Sunday.
Never forget.
Kansas City, almost 60% of the market was watching the Super Bowl. Boston, slightly behind at 57.6. And then Tampa, 52.3. Minneapolis was 50.4. How wild is that?